Hey guys, welcome back to Unrated Gaming here in Norak for the 2018 Midseason Showdown. I am Regina Angley and I am joined by
Gavin Michaels, and today we have, or in this round we have Mitchell Davies versus Alicia Martinez. Now, both of these people have had relative success within California themselves. I mean, Mitchell Davies, of course, top cutting the San Jose Regional in 2017 and in 2017.
2016 and 2017?
No, both of the 2017
runs. That's right.
Yeah, no, it's both of them for some reason. And Alicia Martinez, I believe her most recent regional top cut was in Anaheim as well. So both of these players are very strong on the local scene. We'll start this up in just a minute. We're just waiting a second for Mitchell. But yeah, I mean, looking at Alicia's team right now, we can see that it's a very standard sand team. I mean, if you wanted to like have the most standard sand team possible, this would be close to it.
You're kind of looking basically.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team that we saw a lot of in 2015, then known by the moniker of Japan Sand, primarily because it came from Japan and we were very uncreative. So what is cool about it is it uses Sandstream in order to make Excadrill faster than everything else, but then it also has the pressure of Amoonguss and Azumarill, so it can go for the Rage Powder Belly Drum option, and it can just dish out a ton of damage.
Well, so this is like my first introduction to this kind of team, but I think it is like, it's going to be indicative of what we're going to see in 18, which is, you know, kind of those things where we're going to have weather because we have that national dex open up again to all the players on here. And so it's one of those things where now we have so much options and weather is going to be really fun, which we saw a little bit of the tail end of 17 with like Lily Cole and with like Golduck and Pelipper. And I think now that 18 is opening us up to like a lot of weather setters, it's going to be something a lot more common now.
Right, and I mean, until we inevitably come up with a more creative way of using sand, or not necessarily more creative, just different, we're going to see people fall back on these classic teams. I mean, why not? If you aren't dying to have a Tapu on your team, the Ultra Beasts don't quite fit, why not take a strong team from 2015 and adapt it a little bit so that it fits in 2018?
Right, and like, I think if you kind of look at people's teams right now, so on the left side you've got Alicia, so you've got the Azumarill, the Tyranitar, Salamence, Excadrill, Amoonguss, and the Aegislash. And on Mitchell's side you've got the Politoed, the Metagross, Kingdra, Ludicolo, Ferrothorn, and Hydreigon. So we've got a rain versus a sand here. Yeah,
it's a classic weather war. So for those of you who are new to this, the whole game is pretty much going to be who can get their weather up when. Whoever has their weather of choice up has the power in the matchup. So momentum is pretty strictly going to be determined by making sure that not only is it up this turn, but on the next turn you can get it set up too. So we're going to see Tyranitar and Politoed, which are both teams' only weather setters, do a lot of switching, and you have to expect that both of them are going to come to this matchup, because without it, you let the other team just roll over you with their weather.
So I kind of want to point out something interesting on here too, is neither one of them have a Tapu.
That's true.
And I think 17 kind of showed us the importance of things like wood terrain, and we don't see that in this team at all. So it's kind of like bringing that old format into this without any of the new adaptations from there.
Yeah, it's fun, and both of these teams could have been made exactly in 2015. Alicia's team being a little bit more common, but Mitchell's team, yeah, you could absolutely have seen that be played in 2015. So, I mean, if you think about it, we're really just going to see an updated version of 2015, with the only real change being the nerf to Salamence's Aerial Aid.
Right, so it'll be interesting to see how like they kind of bring that into this format now, like especially since, like, for me, the biggest thing is that they don't have any sort of terrain on here, so you're free to use a lot of things. Like the Amoonguss can use Spore now, not worrying about any sort of misty terrain on there. So you don't have to worry about switches into setting that up on any side, on Mitchell's side on that. So Mitchell's sending out Hydreigon and the Politoed, and Alicia sending out Azumarill and Amoonguss.
Yeah, so this is a pretty strong position for Alicia, just because, I mean, she has free reign to just go for the belly drum if she wants to. The Hydreigon and the Politoed aren't going to be able to knock out the Amoonguss, and even then, neither of them are doing any real damage to the Azumarill. So the Azumarill can do whatever it wants here. It can either set up a belly drum, or if it's a little bit cautious around the Politoed potentially encoring it, depending on what both of their speeds are, it could just decide to go for massive damage with a Play Rough.
Yeah, and like, I think if you're Mitchell, you're kind of scared for your dragon type and your dark type out on there, and so like that is real, like you said, really good spot for like Alicia to have like these kind of things on there. I do want to point out though, I think on Mitchell's side, like I feel like on rain teams it was really common to have like a Mega Swampert. And so we don't see that. So I think it'll be super interesting to see on there. So Ludicolo coming in for the switching on that Politoed, and the Dark Pulse coming out from Hydreigon onto the Amoonguss, and the Play Rough going into the spot for the Politoed, doing a lot of damage on there. And I think that was a nice call on Mitchell's side. The sporing, taking the spore from the Amoonguss.
Yeah, I mean, Alicia is really free there to just fire out whatever moves she wants. I mean, she's just going to get damage off and a spore off. And for Mitchell, all things considered, you didn't lose that much. Now Ludicolo, because it's a grass type, it can get around Amoonguss's Rage Powder and do a hefty amount of damage to that Azumarill if it wants to. It was also a really good call by him to leave the Hydreigon in, because it could have gotten one-shot by the Azumarill, but he was smart enough to just get some damage onto the Amoonguss. That does no damage whatsoever onto the Azumarill.
But Mitchell gets Tailwind up, which is going to be nice, I think, for whatever Pokemon he's going to have in the back. The Play Rough coming into the Hydreigon this time. And, so revealing that Sash.
Yeah,
very nice choice. But I think that is a good call, because you should be afraid of Fairy-type Pokemon in this, which was, like, one of the big differences from the formats.
I mean, we can start to see the reason why Mitchell was so confident in leaving his Hydreigon out there on turn 1. But I gotta question the Tailwind a little bit, just because Alicia's team, you're versus an Amoonguss and an Azumarill right now, so everything you send out is, it's a Metagross. You're already going to be faster than everything on Alicia's team anyway, so I question how much value Mitchell really gets out of that. But regardless, Mitchell does have the Metagross here, and Metagross is going to be able to knock out either one of Alicia's Pokemon if it can call Protects correctly.
Well, and like, I think, so now if you're Alicia, you're thinking, okay, so that Hydreigon is going to be able to take this stuff next, for any sort of next match on there, and it's got that Sash. So I think she did have like that good turn, and then the Amoonguss is still there, can spore everything out of that field.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Alicia isn't complaining about her position. She got rid of the big threat in Ludicolo, and Aqua Jet can always one-shot, or take out the little HP that Hydreigon has left. So we do see the switch into the Aegis Slashers.
And the Amoonguss getting switched out too for a Tyranitar. So controlling the weather on this side now, and good call, because Mitchell has no answer for that. The Politoed is back there, but the Ludicolo won't be able to sort of take advantage of that anymore.
Yeah. So what's cool about this play is that if Alicia is able to get sand damage to knock out the Hydreigon, so even though that Mitchell protected, that Hydreigon is still going down to sand damage, and at that point, Aegislash is going to be able to clean up the Metagross extremely easily. So great call by Alicia there. The only risk she took was if Mitchell decided to Dark Pulse into the Azumarill slot, and if he didn't, then she was always going to be able to just knock out the Hydreigon and get into that 3v2 situation. So great play by Alicia.
Because, Mitchell did get that knockout on the Tyranitar, but now he's, down to his last two Pokemon. Alicia still has, the Azumarill in the back, and even though it's, at half health, it can do some damage to, Politoed is back on the field for that Drizzle. Azumarill switching into the Rain.
Yeah.
But, she got the chip damage she needed. She didn't have to waste a move on Hydreigon to, knock it out. And her Aegislash is still there, comfortable.
Yeah. Azumarill, even though it's at low health, it's fine if it's at low health, because all it really needs to do here is just make sure that Aegislash can't get doubled into safely. Azumarill is threatening a bunch of damage here, and even though it can't Belly Drum anymore if it is the Belly Drum set, what it can do is it can dish out a ton of damage. And when you see the Protect from Mitchell, it could be a double Protect here just to bait out an attack from Aegislash.
Going for a Surf. Nice. So good. So obviously Mitchell wanting to protect his own Pokemon on there and connecting with both Pokemon on Alicia's side, doing a good amount of damage on there. Not anything to the Azumarill, which get a Z move.
Yeah, burning Nightmare off. It's going to be interesting to see which of these it goes onto. If it goes onto the Metagross, that would be a guaranteed KO if it hadn't protected. But it'll only just be a little bit of chit damage. But if that's onto the Politoed, Alicia can just end the game right here, right now.
I think the hardest part for Mitchell was, even though he had switched in that Ludicolo and that second turn for the score, it couldn't do anything at that point.
It took too much damage, and he just wasn't able to do enough with it. You could probably expect the Energy Ball to be doing more to the Azumarill, but if you're losing your Ludicolo like that, you have to have a game plan for how you're going to abuse it. So we do see
the Z move doing at least half damage even behind the protected Mitchell's Metagross, and so Alicia's still in a really good position, I think, right here.
What we did see there was the Damp Rock on Politoed. So what that means is that's great information for the future, Game 2 and Game 3. Not so useful right now, but now you know that you can't really stall out Rain unless you bring in your Tyranitar and just reset the weather itself. So now this is a little bit interesting. Mitchell has room with his Metagross to go for an attack, and if he calls the King Shield here, he can start to get some momentum going.
Oh, and I feel like King Shield is one of those things that you should expect, like, to have like almost every other turn. So
okay, this should be doing some big damage, but not enough to KO.
So the Iron Hand going into the Azumarill spot, picking up the KO on there. So good for Mitchell on that side. So it would be fun to see what this Politoed is about.
If it has Encore, that could be... Oh!
If you surf. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's a little bit rough if you're Mitchell right now. So knocking out your own Metagross.
Yeah, what Mitchell wanted to do there was he was really expecting the Aegislash to not protect. So by going for the Iron Head and the Surf, he kind of guaranteed a knockout on both of them. But even still, that means that you have a Politoed in a 1v1 against an Amoonguss, which is not easy to win. So really question the Surf. I guess he just sort of assumed that his Metagross would be able to live the Surf and didn't factor in the additional damage from the Aqua Jet. But that seems like a little bit of a misplay on Mitchell's end there.
Alternatively, if you're trying to like make sure to get a double knockout and not hoping for like the Aegislash on there, then maybe you're hoping that like, oh, if my Metagross is gonna go down this turn anyway, I should at least try to get like damage out on that side.
That's true. True. It's just like I don't see how Mitchell makes that play and is able to win. The game. So
froze, but he's giving the point to him.
Okay. So the game froze, but Mitchell has forfeited.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like he saw like there's no way his Politoed is gonna be able to come back against like this Aegislash that's still out there, and then the Amoonguss that's in the back. But
yeah, that's one of the nice things about playing a tournament like a Midseason Showdown. Since it's local, everyone's kind of in a more friendly mood. I mean, I don't think that you see someone forfeit and not just take the tie if you're at a regional or national level event. So it's good to see that we can get these kinks out now while people are still willing to be nice with each other.
Well, so I think if we're looking at this match, what's going on for for the second match right now, I feel like the sand didn't play as much into Alicia's side as much as I expected it to, but I also think it's because she had such a good turn one.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't really need to use it so much. And the thing is, Alicia's abuser of the sand is Excadrill, which is going to be getting knocked out by a water attack regardless if sand is up or not. So she can't really abuse the sand. What she can really only do is use the sand to make sure that Mitchell can't use his Ludicolo or Kingdra to just knock out the rest of Alicia's team.
Which is interesting. She didn't bring the Excadrill that match.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, outside of the Metagross, it just really has a poor matchup versus everything else here. But everything else on Alicia's team is suited really well to deal with rain. I mean, you have the Tyranitar, obviously you can reset the weather. Aegislash puts pressure on the Metagross and the Ferrothorn if Mitchell decides to bring that this game. Amoonguss, we saw the Giga Drain. It was able to do a decent amount to the Ludicolo. It would do a decent amount to Kingdra, big damage to Politoed, and the Azumarill, I think, was the big key for her there. The Azumarill was just able to do massive amounts of damage and take practically
everything out on that field.
And it just took so little damage from that Ludicolo energy ball, and with that taken out of the equation, it's just so hard for Mitchell to be able to deal with that Azumarill properly.
Well, and I think Mitchell's decisions going into the second match is how does he protect his Ludicolo, and how does he make sure that Politoed isn't the last Pokemon standing on there? Because if he loses that Ludicolo with the Swift Swim on there, and we know he didn't bring Kingdra, what is he gonna do if he loses the Pokemon that's most beneficial in the weather that he has, when Alicia didn't even have to set up her own weather?
Yeah. One thing I think we could see here is Mitchell decide to lead his own Ludicolo, because the big issue for him was that the Ludicolo just took so much damage on the switch and that it was in range for a Giga Drain to knock it out. That's not normally going to be the case. Usually you aren't scared of Amoonguss as Ludicolo if its attacking move is Giga Drain. So we'll see what adjustments he's going to be making here.
Right. And so Okay, so on your screen right now we've got Mitchell's Pokemon coming out, and hopefully we might see that lead change. So
The
these
Dungeon
nicknames.
Master.
All right. Okay, so we've got that Politoed and the Ferrothorn. So that is actually one of the Pokemon that I was wondering if we were going to see it, because I know it's usually an answer to any sort of Trick Room Pokemon out there. And so Drizzle is showing up on the screen, and the Azumarill Amoonguss lead again from Alicia.
Yeah,
So,
Mitchell's got to be super ecstatic about this, because the reason you bring Ferrothorn to this matchup is there isn't a harder counter in the game to an Azumarill Amoonguss lead than Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn can bypass Amoonguss's Rage Powder, not taking any damage from it, and it can just one-shot the Azumarill if it's trained properly. So Alicia is really just forced to switch something out here. She has to get into a better position. And honestly, in a game where making sure that you're able to always have your weather up and being able to switch in safely into your Weathermon,
right.
in Weather Wars, making it so that you have a Pokemon advantage is way more important than in any other kind of matchup besides Sudden Death, of course. So we'll see how she reacts to it.
So the Azumarill is going to get switched out. So like you said earlier, and then so we have the Aegis Slash coming out into the Azumarill spot, and is that Ice Beam?
Yeah.
Nice, interesting. Going into the Azumarill spot. I wonder if he was waiting for like the Tyranitar into that slot.
Yeah, I would probably be the Salamence would be the only thing that'd be really covering. That's a bit of an interesting play there. But I think what's neat is that Mitchell's Politoed set is very weird, especially considering that it's a Damp Rock set. Usually, if it has Damp Rock, you expect a lot of supporting moves for it, because you're using Politoed as a supporting Pokemon, so you'd expect Helping Hand, Encore. But no, we have the Ice Beam, which isn't a move that you see too much on it. So even though the Aegis Slash was a safe switch-in, that's still at half health. That took a ton of damage from the Ferrothorn, indicating that the Ferrothorn could possibly be a boosting item.
Right, and so like even though his Politoed is asleep, at least you have like that weather up on there. I am like curious to see how he's gonna take advantage of this right now. So Alicia's ghost move is gonna be popping out again, and I don't know, if it was me, I think I'd go after the Politoed, so just in case you can try to go after it.
It's gonna be tough. It's a tough call. I think that you probably want to go for the Ferrothorn, just depending on what you have in back. If your other back mon struggles versus the Ferrothorn too, like you have the Tyranitar, then you have to use this to deal with the Ferrothorn. So it's going to be doing a ton of damage to the Ferrothorn, but I don't think it'll be able to knock it out. It does depend on how Mitchell's Ferrothorn is trained, however. It is able to live, but...
Sludge Bomb into the Politoed slot.
Let's see what the Ferrothorn can really do here. Power Whip comes out. Is that going to be able to knock it out?
Very nice. It is. And so Alicia loses her Aegis Slash on here, but, you know, did a lot of damage to that Ferrothorn, and you can try to take it out in this, like, next coming turn, and hopefully, you know, that Politoed stays asleep if you're Alicia and, like, not be able to do any sort of damage. I'm surprised, like, Mitchell didn't Ice Beam into the Amoonguss.
Well, I mean, it was a...
like,
yeah, I suppose. I mean, it was asleep that turn, so...
Oh, I meant, like,
really
the turn
yeah,
before.
The turn before, it just... Mitchell just really wanted to be conscious about having a switcher. But if you're Alicia, you have to be happy with how that turn went. Sure, you're down a Mon, but you made the Ferrothorn, which is the only thing, well, besides the Ludicolo, that can really deal with your Azumarill, and you made it basically just a non-factor. So now Alicia is super safe to just knock out the Ferrothorn and potentially even fire off a Spore into that slot.
So Ice Beam coming out from Politoed, waking up on this turn, going to the Amoonguss, doing a decent amount of damage on this one. Knock off onto the Ferrothorn, picking up the KO, and Iron Barb's proccing, so hurting the Azumarill on there. But I always think it's a nice trade-off when the only damage you get is from like hurting a Pokemon.
And we do see the Choice Band onto the Ferrothorn, not a huge surprise considering the massive amount of damage it was doing to that Aegis Slash. And Alicia opting to go for the Sludge Bomb there as opposed to the Spore, which would have been better if the Politoed did not get the first turn Wake Up. So now Mitchell actually isn't in too bad of a spot. The Politoed is active, the Ludicolo is at full health.
Not taking 2 attacks like the last match.
Exactly. So it's going to be able to dish out a lot of damage here. And the question is, how is Alicia going to be able to deal with that? Now, we don't know what her back is, but if it is that Tyranitar, we could see the Tyranitar come in, but that's also risking taking a big amount of damage. We could also just see straight up Alicia deciding to double target the Ludicolo, because she knows that she can take the Energy Ball very comfortably from Azumarill, so maybe she doesn't even feel that threatened by the Ludicolo here.
Well, like, I think you're going to try to take advantage of, like, your rain turns right now, because, like you said, he doesn't know what's in the back, and so we're going to see Alicia's last Pokemon right now, and it is a Tyranitar, so we're going to lose that weather for Mitchell, and he's going to have to want to, like, reset it just because I feel like you want to be able to like just take advantage of that, and
Yeah.
Ludicolo going for the Ice Beam into the Tyranitar spot, so not doing like anything at all. And so doubling up into the Tyranitar, leaving him open to a play rough from Azumarill, doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, right there, Mitchell knew that he wouldn't be able to knock out the Azumarill under any circumstance. So he was like, okay, if I can't knock out the Azumarill, I can at least take out the Amoonguss. But Alicia played it smart there and figured that Mitchell wouldn't be firing off water or grass attacks into the Amoonguss. So Tyranitar was a pretty safe switch in there. And now Mitchell's Pokemon are at very low health. Ludicolo's don't usually use Protect, so it's going to be tough because you can't really reset the rain for Ludicolo here. It's just too much damage.
So protecting the Politoed on Mitchell's side and switching out that Ludicolo for the Metagross right now. So afraid of like any sort of damage from there. So the protect from the Politoed not getting any damage from Rob's side, and Metagross taking that hit really comfortably. And Alicia going up into the knockoff into the Politoed, but the protect does help with that. So we've got that Damp Rock still on it.
Yeah, right there, Mitchell needed to just call which slot the Azumarill attack was going to go into. Alicia decided that the Politoed was more likely to switch out so that Mitchell could maintain the rain later on, which makes some amount of sense. But now Mitchell is alive. It's not in a good spot, but he definitely has a chance here because Metagross can just do a ton of damage to either one of Azumarill or Tyranitar.
Right. And so Mitchell Mega Evolving his Metagross on there. And I feel like that Azumarill might be a little bit like, so we got Helping Hand coming in from the Politoed onto the Metagross and the Rock Slide coming out from the Tyranitar.
Revealing that it is Choice Scarf. If we see a flinch here, that could just be game over.
Politoed.
Oh,
no,
it is a
that's
flinch.
Rough. Ouch. Liquidation coming in from Alicia onto that Metagross, but that is just hard. So Billy his Politoed going down on this turn.
Billy.
Ouch. Ow. Those Rock Slide flinches, like, it's one of those things where, like, people are very upset about them, but...
Yeah, I mean, you have a really good shot of getting them off, and to be fair to Mitchell, it was a long uphill climb for him, but if he was able to knock out the Azumarill, then you have the Tyranitar locked into Rock Slide and the Amoonguss, at which point the Metagross probably is just able to clean up and win. So yeah, that was definitely a massive Rock Slide flinch from Alicia.
I feel like so far, like, all the Rock Slides we've seen have been at the most critical moments, because sometimes you can come back from them, but in this case, it's like that is the one time you were hoping it wasn't, and lo and behold, on there. So
yeah, I mean, once you're in the end game, those little bit of RNG factors just matter so much more because you don't have as many turns to recover from them. And I think one thing to note there is just how weird Mitchell's Politoed set was, because Alicia probably saw the Surf and she saw the Ice Beam, and she probably figured, okay, what's the third move here? It could be Encore, it could be Rain Dance. We do see a common trend of manual Rain Dance, so that rain is always going to be set up. But I think that she just got caught really off guard by the Helping Hand, and I mean, that's something that she needed to probably keep in mind there. The Rock Slide made it so that her oversight didn't matter so much, but still, something to keep in mind for the future.
but like, I will say that was the first time that Mitchell had revealed the Helping Hand on there, and so,
That's true.
I mean, if you've got the other movesets from beforehand, and, not having that reveal, like, earlier, that is something that, like, you're not kind of expecting on there. And I will say that, like, Mitchell tried really hard on that one. Like, that Helping Hand for the Metagross, like you said, probably could have, like, helped turn the match around, or, like, give him a better fighting chance against it.
Oh yeah, if he got that off and knocked out the Azumarill, no question he wins that. It's just, I don't know.
I will say this. For two teams that we thought were going to be really big on weather, I feel like it didn't play as much as we thought it was going to.
Yeah, they didn't really opt into the whole Weather Wars thing because Mitchell was really giving Alicia sand whenever Alicia wanted to. Like we saw towards that end game there, Mitchell kind of just had to sack his Ludicolo, or like he couldn't get much value out of it. All it did was fire off an Ice Beam into the Tyranitar because he kept his Politoed in the entire time. He wasn't switching his Politoed out there, and if he reset the rain, he could have gotten more pressure out with the Ludicolo. And I mean, if you have Ludicolo up in Swift Swim, you don't really need to care about Tyranitar going for Rock Slide flinches. So that's something that he might need to be a little bit more careful of in the future, just making sure that he really is playing the weather war and not just letting Alicia win the battle.
Right. So, I mean, good effort on his part and just a really good battle from Alicia. And we will see you guys at our next round. So don't go anywhere.